as most of us grew up, our parents didn't say, "Do you want to go to church today? Do you want to go?" You are going. You are going to church.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the early 70s, I was talking to a fellow about the importance of baptizing your children. And he says, "Well, I'll let them make that choice." And so I said, "Well, do you let them choose to have Snickers candy bars for 3 meals a day? Do you let them decide when they're going to go to bed?" Well, that's been a cultural shift. And the shift has been parents letting their kids decide if they want to go to church, if they want to go to Sunday school. And so that's been a big shift that probably those of us older people don't really understand. Anything to address about, how do you address children today with that shift?
One of the challenges with parents, from my experience, has been a lot of times parents want to be their kid's friend and not their parents. And so they want the kids to like them. So instead of saying, hey, you're going to eat your vegetables, well, if you want to eat your vegetables, you're nicer about the Snickers bar. I say, just leave out some smokes and some whiskey. Hey, if you want to try it, give it a try. You say, no, you don't smoke. You don't do that kind of stuff. If we're not encouraging our kids to focus on their faith, then they're not going to think it's a priority. The things that we talk about are priorities for us. And if we're not talking about our faith or being a part of a community, then we're not prioritizing it. The COVID really did what I call the rise of the introverts, where folks are very reluctant to go out. They're very reluctant to show up. Oddly enough, the least group that has returned to church after COVID is the boomers. Have you heard that? It's kind of odd. And what the Gen Zs are looking for, and that's folks in your 20s and younger, they want to be a part of a place that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important that you talk about your inclusion. You talk about the ways in which you support people who are lacking shelter. I was asking the question about your shower out in the back. I had no idea what that was. And then to hear the story about how that is there to help people out, you need to tell the story because you can't assume they know it. And we know this as preachers. We think we're being redundant, bless you. And we need to keep saying it over and over and over again because they haven't always held on to it. And so we think we're being redundant.
And this church really does a lot for people. I'm really, really impressed. I kind of feel a little bit guilty that in my ministry I didn't do anywhere near as much as you do for people, but that's something you said to talk about.
There's grace for that.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Lord. Thank you.
So a couple things here. We also need to make sure that not everybody speaks Lutheranese. I'm born and raised in the Lutheran church. I've had people come to the church before, and I call them secret worshipers. The weirdest thing for people that didn't grow up in our tradition in the worship service is the sharing of the peace. They have no idea why people are shaking their hands and saying peace. That was the weird. So we can't assume that folks know how and why we do what we do. Not everyone speaks Lutheranese. And if we assume that they do, they might feel like they can't be a part of this community because they don't speak our same language. I interviewed at a church in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we really liked the Raleigh area. We thought it'd be a really cool opportunity. We're going to move from Charlotte, and so I didn't have to change my license plates or my driver's license. This is going to be an easy thing. Everybody on the call committee was from the South, and I didn't feel like I could identify with them because I felt like an outsider. You're right. The gal that greets at the front door, where is she?
Sharon.
Yeah,
Sharon.
You're amazing.
Yes, you are. You are, Sharon.
So when people walk through the doors, that they have that first impression is really important. A lot of times people don't know where the front door of the church is. It's hot out, and so I know propping the door open and standing outside is not necessarily the favorite thing to do. But if they roll into your church and they don't know where the front door is, it's going to be very awkward for them. Or if they go in the wrong door. Don't assume anything about anyone. Now, if they're an introvert, don't jump all over them because that'll freak them out too. But we can't assume. We can't assume they know our language, our customs, our styles. And so sometimes we need to make sure that we're easing them in or helping them along. Somebody hollered out, it was verse 3 that we were singing in case you were in the hymnal. That's important.
Yes.
because not everybody knows that stuff.
That helped me. I'm lost.
And in November, I did a month sabbatical, not as long as your pastor. I met your pastor. She's fantastic. And so it's awesome. She's getting the sabbatical. Continue to pray for your pastor. I had a month sabbatical in the month of November. And so I went to 2 churches almost every Sunday. And when I travel, or when I have something like this, I go to the biggest, most rock and roll church in town, because I want to see what is bringing thousands and thousands of people in. Now, to be fair, those churches are experiencing the same downturn that we all have. And so everybody's been hit by game. They are so passionate and proud of who they are as a church and as a community. It's contagious. It's infectious. Typically, all we talk about with Lutherans and mainline Protestants is, the ship